Well, I would bet that you guys are all busy and you're juggling quite a lot. And at work, you're trying to focus your minds and concentrate. You're trying to be as innovative and creative as you can. You're trying to collaborate with clients, colleagues, stakeholders. And you're also trying to have some sort of personal life. And I believe, and we believe at Shine Offline, that if you have an out of control, unbalanced relationship with your digital technology, you simply can't perform at your best at work, and you just can't live the fullest personal life possible. And I know that a lot of businesses that we work with are doing a lot around the resilience piece, and they're training their staff to be more resilient. As far as we're concerned, there's dang all point being resilient if you're not actually examining what's causing the stress in the first place. And that's where things like the Mindful Business Charter are really important, because that's looking at, I'm sure you all know about this, that's businesses saying we're going to make sure that we're operating in such a way that our people are supported to work well and be well. And if people are overwhelmed by their digital devices, it's just not possible. The impact it has on the efficiency of the meeting. We're in there to come up with solutions and deal with problems, and people are just distracted in a way. They're not present, they're not in the moment. Simon Sinek, who does a lot around this space, especially talking about millennials, there was a video that went viral where he was talking about two colleagues meet each other in the corridor, and colleague A says to colleague B, I really need to talk to you. And colleague B has his phone in his hand and he goes, yeah, okay, what is it? And they have the whole conversation, he's got his phone in his hand. And then he replays the scenario, and this time colleague B takes the phone and puts it down. Okay, what is it? And the point he's making is that these things can create a barrier between two people because they're very emotive. It's called continuous partial attention. And it's something that a lot of us suffer from. If you have your phone in your hand or in your pocket, when you're with somebody or doing something, you can't give yourself over 100% in that moment because you know that's going to go off at any minute and you don't know what it's going to be. 77% of UK office workers stated that a productive day at the office constituted clearing their inbox. Anybody here employed as a professional emailer? Oh, yeah, you're hilarious. It's not actually a job title, not yet. And yet I think a lot of us spend an awful lot of our day just managing our inbox or whatever other system we're using at work to keep in touch with our colleagues, etc. This has become slowly normalised. And it's untenable. Email was meant to replace the fax machine. It wasn't meant to replace conversation. And it certainly wasn't meant to replace our to-do list. Because if you sit on a Wednesday afternoon as you're about to finish up and plan what you're going to do tomorrow and put a to-do list together, and then on Thursday morning, go into your inbox at 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, whatever time you open it, and then leave it open all day, you may chuck your to-do list out the window. Because that inbox is going to tell you how you're going to spend your day. And I think if we think about it, it is not an effective or efficient way to work. We are all knowledge workers. We use our minds to do our jobs. And I think that we need to take a moment to stop and reflect on the impact that constantly being distracted is having on our ability to focus our minds. Deep work. Cal Newport is a god. The man has written a book called Deep Work, and it's flipping brilliant. He's got really good TED Talk. Deep work is when you can get yourself into this place of deep focus and concentration. You can read your mind, on that hard report or that whatever it is you're doing in your day. It's normal now to flit on and off devices all day. And he believes that the thought leaders of tomorrow will be the people who manage to harness their ability to actually get into a place of deep focus and concentration. And I agree with him. It's become normal to just be flitting, jumping all day. We just can't concentrate. 70% of emails at work are opened within 6 seconds. And research is different. It takes between 1 minute to 25 minutes to fully regain concentration, to get back to the same level of focus. It's very different. But even if it was just a minute, and I was with a man today who gets 600 emails a day. How much time is he spending trying to refocus his mind? It's just not an effective way to work. Who here uses some sort of online SMS facility at work to do chatting? An online chat is a meeting that never ends. It's constant. You know, people tell us they spend all day worrying that they're going to miss out on something. So they have to just constantly keep updating themselves on the channels. And they actually do their work at night when they go home. Honest to God, this is a thing. And work tech is interrupting us, but our personal tech is interrupting us too. Deloitte research found that 64% of people reported that their personal smartphone was interrupting their ability to concentrate. Does anybody recognize this man? You might get a prize if you know his name. Oh! Chocolate phone, don't turn it on. Okay, so this is Alex Honnold, and Alex Honnold is a free climber, which means he climbs treacherous rock mountain cliff sides with no ropes. And there's an amazing That's not a rope, it's a crevice in the cliffside. Anyway, there was a brilliant documentary called Free Solo all about him trying to climb Il Capitan. I would highly recommend it, it was brilliant. But it sounds like an incredibly physical task that he's undertaking, but it's actually very cognitive because he spends months examining these cliff sides because he needs to know where to put his little finger, where to put his toe. He needs to know it intimately because his life depends on it. And he was interviewed recently and he said before a big climb, he comes off social media 4 weeks before any big climb. Now, I don't think that's because he's worried about being tempted to check Facebook when he's halfway up Il Capitan. It's more about he knows that it has a negative impact on his ability to focus and concentrate using social media in the run-up to a climb. And again, I think when we're at work, you know, we want to do our best. We do. We want to perform as well as we can. But a lot of us are just getting pulled away from the task in hand. Work-life balance. Thing of the past. We have more flexibility in our lives than ever before when it comes to our work. And digital technology has been the enabler of that because we're not tethered to our desks anymore. And that's brilliant. But the flip side of that is if you don't have any boundaries around how you use your work and personal communications, you can end up just completely being overloaded. Work is interrupting our personal time more than ever because we carry it around with us everywhere we go. Gone are the days where you looked at the clock at 5:30 and thought, I'll sit on for 10 minutes and look really conscientious. And then I'll go home and I'll rest and I'll come back tomorrow and I'll want to be here and I'll be on it because I've had a break. We take it home. The World Health Organization has stated that by next year, work-related stress and burnout is going to be amongst the world's most prevalent diseases. And I am not surprised. There is a macho culture to being available by email at all hours. We've met people in our line of work who have told us that they know people who schedule emails to go out in the middle of the night to make it look like they're working in the middle of the night when they've written them in the afternoon. This has become the norm. But it's something that businesses just generally don't talk about. It's an elephant in the room. And on holiday, I had a guy come up to me today and say, I've booked 2 weeks in St. Lucia with my family, and I've been told I have to go look at my email every day. You know, the man needs a goddamn holiday. We go on holiday for a reason. This guy was at a bank, you know. He's paid a very healthy sum of money to do his job. He needs to be rested so that when he's performing, he's doing his very, very best. And yet he feels like he can't. The Chartered Institute of Management research from 2018 found that the average manager was spending 44 days a year on their work email out of office hours. You know, on the commute, in the evening, on the weekends, on their holidays. 44 days a year out of office hours. What's your annual leave? 29 days a year? So that's like 1.5 times your annual leave you're spending on your work email. 2 weeks ago, I love a bit of new research, or a bit of, oh no, I've got something here for you. Oh yes, sorry. The Health and Wellbeing at Work study found that 87% of people reported that an inability to switch off was affecting their wellbeing. That was an inability to switch off from work. And 2 weeks ago, the charity Working Families Parents, they found that they found that parents, 44% of parents said they found it hard to avoid dipping into emails when they were at home. And this is primarily because of workload pressure and manager expectation. There's a lack of space and pause in our days, and it's having a negative impact on our ability to think in a creative and innovative way. Because if you think about your brain kind of like a muscle, you can change your brain depending on how you use it. The term is neuroplasticity. And those scans that Ian showed where the brains were different, that's neuroplasticity up on that screen. These days, what a lot of us do is we train our minds in distraction because we flit on and off our tech all day, inbox, phone all day. So we're exercising the fast-paced reactionary part of our brains. So those neurons are firing and they're wiring together. And we're getting really good at that. Well, I am pleased to say, and tonight I think is evidence of this, that since we launched 3 years ago, businesses are taking the digital wellness of their staff incredibly seriously, because businesses are built on humans and technology coming together. And for too long now, technology is being chucked back into the room without people stopping and thinking, is it actually going to add benefit? Or is it just going to add another layer of confusion and more overwhelm for people to have to, So businesses are now looking at their digital cultures and working to make sure that they can start to streamline the systems that they're asking their people to use, support their people to have actual proper breaks and understand the importance of being screen-free, but also educate them about the impact that our personal comms is having on us as well. So this is a thing, which is amazing. And in some countries, there are right to disconnect laws. So in France, for example, if you're a business with more than 50 employees, you're legally obliged to have a disconnect policy in place, which means your staff are basically, you can't contact them out of office hours via email, etc. And that's happening in a number of European countries.
Lots of people came, which means it's pertinent to people. I've been interested in this for a couple of years, and I've thought it's important for people to grasp, but it's clear people are realising it's potentially an issue, something they could do better. There's no ignoring technology's here to stay, but people want to manage it better and have a better quality of life with it.
I think one of the reasons it was so important, and actually something I would also take away from this evening, is that it's quite clear that although technology can be a friend to us, it can also be a foe. And what's clear is over the years, rather than us using it to benefit our lives, it's perhaps started to run our lives. And so what was so important and inspirational about this evening is I think we're really reaching that crucial point where it's time for us to manage technology.
The thing which really just hammers, it can be, just can't be hammered home enough, is the amount of time that we check our phones even unconsciously, and how it ingrains itself into this external trigger, into an internal trigger, and how we create our own distractions and lose our focus. And it's a total fallacy, this notion of being always on, which turns into actually a very destructive kind of factor at work, and actually helps us be less productive. It's crazy.
As we're talking about impact of technology on mental health, as you said, obviously to a certain extent that's a discussion about technology, but I think below that it's also a discussion about human behaviour and habit, and our relationship with ourselves, and just how we conduct ourselves. Because the thing is that technology is actually an amplifier. If we look at any of the problems there are in the world today, actually those problems may feel on the surface like they're because of technology, but if you dig deeper, they're problems which are just human problems which are being amplified by technology. So actually this kind of being aware of ourselves and how we are with the tools that we use and in the environment that we're in, this is a crucial kind of aspect to having good mental health.
Change is happening to us all the time, and that speed of change is it's getting faster. We're asking our staff to embrace and be agile with the technology that we're implementing, but it's all right to say, please, we want you to embrace this, but we're going to actually help them to use it to its advantage rather than to the disadvantage it can bring to us. So the reason why I came tonight was to hear hear stories, understand what others are doing, and in this space, because we've got to help our people manage that change.
Yes, I've done something quite drastic, or what could be considered quite drastic. I spent nearly 20 years in the news business, in 24-hour news, and in the break I actually deleted all my news apps. And I did that very intentionally because I'm continually bombarded with notifications, we always jump to them. My wife does as well, 'cause she was in the news business, and I've decided that actually I'm not in that business anymore, and I don't really need to be, and I will find out another way. And so it's just one of the things which I've taken action on already. There are a few other things which will probably have something to do with social media as well, but I'm moving towards them.
So, having listened to all of the fantastic speakers this evening, I think there's one takeaway that really stands out in terms of something I would change in my life. And I am a wife and a mother of 2 children. And I heard one gentleman talk about how when he arrives home, they have a box for their mobile phones and they put the mobile phones in the box. And that's not to say that they can't visit their phones, take work calls if they need to, check social media. But at the same time, they're having more present time face-to-face with their children, with each other, because the phone isn't in the pocket, so they're not naturally reaching for the phone and having that distraction. So I shall give that a go and we'll see.
Running a small, quickly growing business demands a huge amount of your time looking at a screen, connecting with people in that way. So I think actually just the basics are actually one of the most crucial things for me. And as I was saying earlier, I don't think this is something that you do once and then you've sorted it. This is a lifelong practice.
Well, it's the 3rd time I heard Laura, and first time I got rid of some stupid apps on my phone that was consuming time. The second time I bought myself a clock, and this time I really need to get myself those 2 phones, the other phone, because I have a work phone and I've had it for 13, 14 years, and sometimes I think I can't live without it. I need to get my own personal phone.